This is Hannibal and Piper here from the Hannibal TV.com with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer. Xander Harris would love to see Edge in AEW. I think that would honestly be great. He's done all he's going to do in WWE, and we did put a fan poll up, and it was a landslide. 44% of people wanted to also see Edge in AEW. I mean, he is wrestling Sheamus tonight. Supposedly, this is the end of his WWE contract. First time he's ever wrestled Sheamus, who hasn't held the world title for 10 years and is not exactly hot right now. AEW could really use a guy like Edge. I think Edge could have like a whole, like Chris Jericho was flat in WWE, just like I would say Edge is flat in WWE. He hasn't really been, like, it was nice when he come back. He's around, but he hasn't really made an impact. I think he'd be better in AEW. I'd like to see it. I hope he goes. I know Tony Khan could certainly afford it. We're not really going to talk about the wrestlers breaking the law, because I'll tell you guys right now, as far as the FTR guy that allegedly pulled a gun on somebody in a road rage incident, I did an article on that. It's in the description. Sunny pleading guilty or pleading no contest to her DUI death charge. I did an article on that. For the people that say she's really aged since she's been in jail, we can look at her picture here. I do believe this does have to do with not having hair dye or makeup. As far as food in jail, the Canadian jails, the food is very small. I actually think Canadian jails, or at least Ontario jails, aren't as good as U.S. jail. I mean, there might be some benefit. Anyways, stay out of jail, guys. It's not a good place. We won't go down that road. I'm doing great, John. And Kyle Rasmussen is another former WWE wrestler that also was sentenced today. There's an article on him too. Just search it up. This is already going to be a long Wrestling Observer review, so I didn't want to rehash those three. The links are in the description. Kyle Rasmussen, I actually had my WWE medical with him, but that was the only time I ever met him. So let's get into the news. WWE has already sold more than 90,000 tickets for the 2-day WrestleMania event at Philadelphia's Lincoln Financial Field, April 6th and April 7th. They've passed 21.5 million in ticket sales for WrestleMania, which is more than they generated for WrestleMania 39 in LA. So, I mean, people are buying tickets. You can say the two nights really dilute WrestleManias. I would sure say so. Makes it less special, but I don't see them stopping it anytime soon because of how much money they're making. They're just making massive money. August 11th, the SmackDown tapings in my old stomping grounds of Calgary, where I started in Stampede Wrestling. They had 9,600 paid, 10,521 in the building, which is more than AEW Dynamite had there recently. AEW Collision. The August 14th Raw in Winnipeg had 8,800 paid, 9,702 in the building. Keep in mind the Dynamite in Winnipeg had around 7,000 total, with Jericho, Omega, and Don Callis, the three Winnipeg boys on the show. Maybe next time they'll outdraw WWE. I was surprised. And as far as SmackDown tonight in Toronto, they have over 13,000 tickets out. for what they're calling Edge's 25th anniversary celebration. Tomorrow, WWE has a house show here in Ottawa with a little over 4,000 tickets pre-sold. And then they're in Laval, Quebec. They're not going to Montreal. They're going to the suburb of Laval, Quebec, in the small arena. Even with Sami Zayn on the card, there's only around 4,000 tickets sold. So I think the Sami Zayn hoopla is about over. All In coming next week. We can very well see Edge appear at All In if he wants to make the jump. Lacey Evans, 33 years old, is no longer with WWE. Apparently, her contract most likely expired and wasn't renewed. Right now, she's focusing on opening up a new cafe. She went to the main roster in 2019. She's been wrestling since 2014. Got signed in 2016. Former Marine. She was pushed right away into a title feud with Becky Lynch. Then she was doing a storyline which was happening around the time that Ric Flair and that Dark Side of the Ring stuff happened, where Ric Flair got banned from WWE. They were doing an angle where Ric Flair may have got her pregnant, and she was really pregnant. And that angle was pretty much dropped. And then Flair and her were gone. She was off for pregnancy, and Flair had that issue where they temporarily dropped him until the Dark Side of the Ring stuff blew over. She returned after they gave birth, and they gave her backgrounds showing her Marine side. Apparently, Vince McMahon really liked her and was her strongest ally in the company. Sergeant Slaughter, who was not a real Marine, by the way, Sergeant Slaughter was not. That's been confirmed. Apparently had issues with her, a real Marine, playing a Marine character. I never saw any of that. I do say she has a great look. The only thing I ever saw of her, and she seems like a nice person, and from all reports of people that I've common friends with her, she seems nice. I would definitely suggest that Jack Kilby try and use her in Great North Wrestling. If she is going to take independent bookings, I would love to see her in Great North Wrestling. But I only saw it was in Edmonton. And I think another diva, maybe Natalia, may have been in the car, but she was pulled over by the RCMP, and she filmed the video basically in character telling off the police officer, and it went viral. But they never did anything with that. Logan Paul has tried to make Conor McGregor a $1 million bet on the outcome of his match with Dylan Dennis, which is a boxing match that, according to Chael Sonnen, has been booked for at least 4 months. Dennis has only had 2 MMA fights in his career. He's hardly a boxing expert and hasn't fought for years. Meltzer says, quote, unless Paul literally breaks his leg, and perhaps even if he does, he's not losing this fight. McGregor will talk about his buddy, but he's not handing over $1 million over it, end quote. And I agree. This you can't really fix fights, but you can definitely, well, you can, but this is definitely a very one-sided fight. Mike Rotundo, Erwin R. Shyster, the father of Bray Wyatt, who has been off since the end of February, says he's going to be back soon. He didn't have a very good there was a lot of hoopla, to use that word again, when he returned. Big deal was made, and then it fell flat. The big match he had, like his first match back was a non-televised house show match against, I believe, Jinder Mahal. And he broke his finger, and he had several non-televised matches against Jinder Mahal after his on-air debut. Then they did this thing with Uncle Howdy, who there's an interview on this channel with. And there was a match with Wyatt and LA Knight that a lot of people feel LA Knight should have won, where the finish was Uncle Howdy was supposed to jump onto LA Knight, but he totally missed them. And then they pretended like he actually hit him. And then he disappeared. So it really fell flat. Kevin Nash apparently said he pitched the idea to WWE of being the MC for SummerSlam, and they didn't answer him back. I mean, I don't know why AEW doesn't use him for something. Is Lance Hoyt still even under contract with AEW? Parker Boudreaux, remember when AEW re-signed him? How many times have they used him? There's so many. It's the easiest job in the world, and God bless Tony Khan for giving these guys jobs for doing next to nothing. Apparently, nothing really has been announced for the September 2nd Payback WWE pay-per-view. Apparently, WWE, AEW, or another promotion might start a new streaming deal with ESPN. They're open to a new wrestling promotion on their channel. Now, let's get into this AEW craziness. And by the way, before we get into the AEW craziness, as far as Lacey Evans, I did a poll. 1,000 of you voted. 47% doesn't think she's going to continue with wrestling. They think she's going to be done with wrestling, go on to her cafe. I don't know why AEW wouldn't use her. She's got a great look, and she's more known. Even if they only use her, sign her to a year deal, I think the more known faces they could use, the better. With the little amount that Impact pays, I don't know if it'd be worth it for Impact. And before we get into this AEW chaos, let's look at the Bill Watts. Now, I did this as a joke because I know Bill Watts is in his 80s. But there's all kinds of craziness that I'm going to get into regarding CM Punk and AEW. 68% of you want to see Tony Khan bring in Bill Watts to sort out the AEW dressing room. They should make a reality series about that. Honestly, bring Bill Watts in there, have Eric Watts, who is, I do believe, legitimately tough. I believe Eric Watts' story about Rick Rude. Maybe give him a few more bodyguards and have Bill Watts come in, straighten out not that Watts would need a bodyguard against CM Punk. Maybe if his buddy Ace Steel is using weapons and biting, maybe. But in a one-on-one, Bill Watts against Punk, I'd still give Watts the upper hand even at 85. But let's jump into this. We've covered some of this, but we'll go into the detailed version. And again, this is from the Wrestling Observer. I report the points I find interesting. There's a lot in here I don't cover. WrestlingObserver.com. They'll redirect you to the page if you want to order it. AEW news, a promo by CM Punk and Adam Page led to Adam Page and Ryan Nemeth were not booked on the Collision show in Greensboro, North Carolina, and CM Punk cut a promo after the show on Adam Page that led to even more drama. Apparently, Punk later apologized for the promo. Nemeth, who, by the way, wrestled on Dynamite, they did do a Ring of Honor taping, which is usually Saturday after Collision on Dynamite Wednesday night. And they put Nemeth, the head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels, and Colt Cabana, all three people CM Punk hates on that show. So maybe they'll start taping some of Ring of Honor on Dynamite for the people that CM Punk doesn't like, because they like to bow down to CM Punk. Nemeth is the younger brother of Dolph Ziggler. After CM Punk did an ESPN interview, he went on Twitter, where I guess on this interview, Punk had alleged the Elite were soft. Nemeth went on Twitter and said, quote, "Literally the softest man alive," end quote. That's all he wrote. He didn't identify Punk. Still, as a low card guy, dumb thing to do if you're getting a contract of at least $150,000. I hear is the lowest amount in AEW. I wouldn't insult the highest guy in the company. Apparently, Punk had used words in his June 17th Chicago promo in response to a sign that offended him, saying how the only people as soft as the person who wrote that sign were his favorites, and said he would never apologize. I guess talking about the Elite. Punk's name was never mentioned in Nemeth's tweet. Nemeth later deleted his entire Twitter account. Apparently, Nemeth was later pulled to the side by Punk in the locker room at a Dynamite taping that Punk made a surprise appearance at, where basically there was nothing he could do at his level if Punk's calling him out. I guess if he fought Punk, WWE probably would have picked him up, but he just he went out in the hallway and let Punk yell at him. The Pro Wrestling Torch reported that, and this is about the confrontation, that the confrontation happened on June 21st, where multiple people said that this locker room incident where Punk told Nemeth to go in the hall happened. Apparently on this same show, Khan was seen in the gorilla position when Punk came out chanting CM Punk, standing up with his hands over his head. Again, good for Tony Khan for giving so many people money. Apparently, Matt Hardy was booked for a recent Collision taping, but later told not to go into the building. He was told it was related to CM Punk. Christopher Daniels, the head of AEW talent relation, had been working Collision and Ring of Honor. He was told to no longer come to the Collision tapings, and it's related to CM Punk is the impression he got. Why? Apparently Punk is mad because Ace Steel, who only has a job as a producer because CM Punk wants him employed, and they'll just bow down to CM Punk. Who Ace Steel is and what his qualifications are as a producer other than CM Punk's friend, only Punk and Tony Khan know, because I'd never heard of him until apparently, keep in mind, Ace Steel is a lot bigger than the Young Bucks. He brought a chair and used a chair in this fight with the Young Bucks and bit Kenny Omega. Now, this is not a life or death street fight. This is a co-worker fight backstage with smaller people, and he used a weapon. Big, tough CM Punk and his crony here needed weapons and biting against the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So apparently, because of Ace Steel's heat related to pulling this crap, which I as I said, I don't respect anyone that brings a weapon to a fight unless someone else has pulled a weapon. I really don't. I really don't. As someone that's had weapons pulled on him multiple times in his life, I don't respect that whatsoever. Anyways, Punk doesn't feel Daniels should be allowed backstage because Ace Steel isn't allowed backstage. He's a 44-year-old high school student. Apparently, Colt Cabana being moved from being an agent with Ring of Honor taped on Collision days to being an agent with Dynamite is something expected by everyone. And again, they did seem to tape some Ring of Honor matches this week on a Wednesday. Maybe this will become a regular thing, even though they're already taping Rampage after Dynamite, but maybe they'll mix it up more. It seems ridiculous that this is all because of CM Punk, and they're literally rearranging. Again, fire CM Punk and bring Edge in. I don't know. It just seems like this is just sad. Anyways, it's even sad to read. Meltzer brings up that they use Colt, Nemeth, and Daniels on Dynamite, despite them not being allowed at the Collision taping. The previous Saturday, they're all going to be together at Wembley, and I think next week's Dynamite is going to be from Duluth, Georgia. It's a Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision taping because then they're going to Wembley Stadium. So who knows? Maybe some people won't be allowed backstage to avoid problems. I don't know. It seems like it's a mess, but at least they're all getting paid huge amounts to be involved with that mess. And they only have to go to work once or twice a week, which is a lot better than the majority of us that have got to work 5 days a week, sometimes more. I've had 3 jobs most of my life. So people that work 1 day a week and make 150 grand plus a year, I don't for a fun job of wrestling. Even with the politics, wrestling is still a fun job. Apparently, the All In show has pretty much all been put together. Right now, there's 80,544 tickets out, which is better than the 1992 SummerSlam. The final hurdle will be WrestleMania 32 in 2016, which is 80,709 tickets out. I'm sure that they're going to beat that. I think the new Wembley can hold around 90,000. But it's going to be set up for about 86. It's weird that this is to me as a not I follow the news and stuff, and you guys can put your opinion. This seems like just a regular AEW show. There's WrestleMania. There's some special people brought back. There's some celebrities mixed in and stuff. To me, this is a pretty lackluster show considering the platform that they have. Maybe they'll pull out a stop and bring Edge. Maybe Goldberg will still be added as a surprise. I don't know, but right now here's the card according to Meltzer. MJF defending the AEW title against Adam Cole. Zero interest in seeing that. FTR against the Young Bucks. Zero interest. I'm not going to even say this anymore because I'm not interested. The only match I'm semi-interested in is Sting and Darby Allin against Strickland and AR Fox because I'm a Sting fan. CM Punk against Samoa Joe. I like Samoa Joe. I won't mind seeing that. FTR against the Young Bucks. No. I mean, I like the Young Bucks, but I don't like super kicks. I respect them as performers. Here, Hikaru Shida, versus Britt Baker versus Saraya versus Toni Storm. Be interesting to see Saraya's reaction. That is Paige. Chris Jericho against Will Ospreay. I like Chris Jericho, but this Will Ospreay is another acrobatic small wrestler. Zero interest. Kenny Omega and Adam Page and Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Konosuke Takeshita. No, thank you. They announced a Stadium Stampede match with Eddie Kingston, Penta, Ray Phoenix, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Brent Beretta against Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, plus 3 more partners from the BBC team. I like Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley and Claudio. I like as a person. I was there for his WWE tryout. The others I'm not very familiar with. In other wrestling news, New Japan only made $1.6 million in profit last year. They generated $36.4 million. So to put that into perspective, in the first day of WrestleMania ticket sales, just for WrestleMania ticket sales, they've surpassed $21.5 million in sales just for the first day of WrestleMania ticket sales. New Japan throughout their whole year only generated 36.4 million. That's how unpopular New Japan is these days. Stardom actually made more profit than New Japan. They only generated 10.53 million, but they profited 1.72. So I'll take the profit of 1.72 million, take the extra 120,000. AAA had their third and final Triple Mania show August 13th in Mexico City before 16,000 fans. In MMA news, UFC on ESPN 51, August 12th, did 0.19 for the prelims, 0.29 for the main card. And that is it for the Wrestling Observer news. Hi, Jeff. There has been a large percentage. Is there a large percentage of pro wrestlers that have been arrested at least once? I think in today's day and age, no. It was way more common in the 80s. The wrestlers were wilder, but now there was no social media in the 70s and 80s, and also like it didn't cross from town to town. So you, for instance, if that happened to the FTR guy in Florida, we would never find out about it in Canada. Like chances of us ever finding out about it, maybe the people in the local Florida newspaper would hear about it the next day. But like word just didn't spread. Now someone can get arrested here and people will find out about it all over the world. As I found out when I was falsely arrested. Someone says, good to see the biz is thriving. No, I'm not crashing the house show tomorrow. I'll put the link up because the last time I showed up at a house show for WWE, they actually had me thrown out. I'll put the link. This was a house show that CM Punk and Chris Jericho were on, and it had a horrible crowd. And they kicked me. I'll put the link up. And this was my repost that I posted 3 years ago. The initial video of this got like 100,000 views in a weekend. I got so much publicity on it, and they put me on local radio and stuff. And we ended up getting 1,200 people to the Great North Wrestling show a few weeks after this WWE house show. Just because they threw me out. If they hadn't thrown me out, there would have been no story to it. I see no gimmicks guy. Jack Kilby posted something. Eric Watts returns to the Great North Wrestling podcast September 10th at 7 p.m. There's 2 interviews with Eric Watts on this channel. I did a 2-hour one with him a little over a year ago. And Jack Kilby did one with him. And Jack Kilby, by the way, I understand he's going to the WWE show in Ottawa tomorrow. So say hello to him if you see him there. Alex, yeah, the all-in card, it looks weak. It's like people bought tickets. The draw of the card is it's in a stadium, and a lot of people are going to be there. But like as far as star power on the show, I would say the actual star power is disappointing. The U.S. Armed Forces endorsed Slaughter as a real Marine. They could have at least got Jesse. Yeah, Jesse was a real... no, he was a Navy SEAL. Jesse was a Navy SEAL. I never heard that the U.S. Armed Forces... There was actually... They tried... At one point, the Marines tried to sue Sergeant Slaughter over being a false... They were calling it stolen valor. Gomer Pyle was also entertaining. He did have a G.I. Joe. Someone says he can change, Sonny. Honestly, I used to find her gorgeous back in 95, 96, but even in 2008, um, when I met her, she wasn't as bad as she is now. But she really, I guess she has an addictive personality as far as eating goes too. Because do you guys remember how much weight she gained when she jumped from WWE to WCW? She gained like a huge amount of weight. By the way, another person she had sex with, according to Sandman, was Sabu. CM Punk would be lucky to work as an 80s jobber. Yes, that's true. I don't think Punk, I mean, we're in a different, there, most people in wrestling today would not have made it in the 80s. Let's face it, because of the hazing that you had to go through, and you had to be one of the boys. You had to party. Whether it's good or bad, CM Punk wouldn't have been one of the boys. And for his attitude, and like he's had 2 backstage fights, right? Ted Hart beat the crap out of him. And this other backstage fight against the much smaller the much smaller Bucks, where his buddy used a chair and bit. So would he have been able to stand up to a Mad Dog Vachon or an Andre the Giant in the old days, or people that were on edge like Roddy Piper, Macho Man, or even the Iron Sheik? What's up? I had good workout today. I had a really good doctor's appointment showing that I'm mending well, very well. Sunny was the bomb in her prime, yes. Missy Hyatt, Dark Side of the Ring. Missy Hyatt, from what I understand, she didn't waste her money. She's had regular jobs outside of wrestling. I believe she finished her degree. I mean, did she go out with a lot of wrestlers and supposedly hockey players and various actors as well? Yes. But she's still alive and she's a success. So I've done 2 interviews with Missy Hyatt on this channel, and Jack Kilby's done 1. So I suggest you guys check those out. And if you're at the SmackDown in Toronto tonight, enjoy it. Raw, by the way, is in Quebec City, the first ever in the history of Quebec City WWE TV taping in Quebec City. And I believe they have 10,000 people for that one. So, and for a while, they weren't even going to Quebec City. So I guess they must have a special deal to be returning back there. So I'm going to enjoy my tea here. And I wish everybody a great weekend.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews,